Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, August 23rd, 2018 is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, roll call, please.
Commissioner Villanova.
I'm here.
Commissioner Creech.
Present.
Commissioner Dorban.
I'm here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Kalis.
I am here.
Commissioner Powers is here, and Chairman Rafato.
Here. Brooke, any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Commissioner Johnson, is there anybody on the citizen concerns and comments? No, sir. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Number 6, consent items, docket number SCBA 18-35, Starbucks, 351 West Dundee Road, appearance approval of a wall sign and drive-through signs. We're going through them now. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Dorban, second by Commissioner Blanova. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Dorban.
Yes.
Commissioner Villanova.
Yes.
Commissioner Creech.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Rafato.
Yes. Items for review, docket number 2018-21, Blooming Mines Steam Academy, 593 North Wolf Road, special use site plan approval of a recreational and instructional facility. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2018-21, Olga, and I apologize, Manchanak, President of Blooming Mines Academy, is seeking special use site plan approval as required under Chapter 19-05 Mixed Use and Overlay Districts, Chapter 19-10 Use Regulations, Chapter 19-12 Site Plan Approval Requirements and associated sections to operate a recreational and instructional facility at 593 North Wolf Road, Wheeling, Illinois. Standards for special use. A zoning special use is defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning as a use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on the surrounding properties that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why the request meets the conditions of the village code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request for a special use meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the village board. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Brooke, any comments?
Yes. I'd like to note that the staff reports and submittals of the petitioner are part of the public record.
Thank you. The petitioner, please come forward. Hello. Will you be the only person speaking tonight?
Yes.
Please raise your hand. Do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. And if you could state your name and business address.
So I'm Olga Hamichanak, and my address is 593 North Wolf Road in Wheeling, Illinois, 60090.
Great. Thank you very much. So the floor is yours to explain what you're going to be doing.
So I'm currently have daycare center and enrichment center in the same unit, and our and building opened up 2 days, 2 doors from where I'm currently at, and we thought that it would make sense to separate our older students who study mathematics enrichment and language enrichment and science to be in a separate unit so they feel more like they're surrounded by an adult design rooms and they feel more comfortable there. So it wouldn't influence any parking situation, or it wouldn't influence any traffic. It would just, I think, make our older students more comfortable.
Anything else to add?
Not really, no major changes to the operation. We just want to have a separate unit and organize them under a separate business name.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this matter? No. Thank you. So we will start with Commissioner Powers.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Just a couple questions. Do you have any bike parking in your current facility? Do you allow any bikes to be stored indoors during the day?
We don't. We currently we don't have anybody who would bike, because generally parents come, drop off their children like from the car, and they pick them up. And then our teachers, we have a limited number of teachers, so they all drive.
Okay. Well, so the new building you have, are you taking some of the, you actually said you're taking some of the activity that's in the current facility and transferring it over to the new one?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so in that case too, will there be employees in the current facility that will be moving and utilizing the new facility?
Yes, we have just a few full-time employees, and then maybe 3 or 4, and then the rest are part-time. So what they do is some will work during the day and then they will go home, and then some will come at night for a few hours, because it's enrichment, so it's daycare. We have full-time, those about 4 or so, but for enrichment it's just a few hours here and there. So the maximum of employees is not gonna change, it just may be different people because of the hours.
Okay, so that was kind of like my question. So you really don't plan on hiring any more additional employees, but you will be, some of them will be moving and working in the new facility, correct?
Yes, or if someone leaves, then we may hire somebody new, but we're not gonna change the capacity of employees.
Okay, great. Like you did with your current facility, you okay with adding additional insulation for noise? Okay, so that, I think that will probably add that as a condition.
Yeah, we are, but also Dr. Baker, who is the owner, he's next door, and it's just him, and his hours are usually 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., which is going to be like very slow time for us. The majority of our hours for school-age children will be from 3:30, 4:15, maybe even later, like 5:15. So usually in that whole building, we don't have anybody by that time, really.
Okay, that's really all I had. It's nice to see you back, because obviously you've been successful, so appreciate that.
Nice to be back. Thank you.
Commissioner Dorbin.
Thank you, but Commissioner Powers asked my questions.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I just have only one question. Is it considered after-school program? Is it buses going to be dropping off kids, or it's just in the evening only working with parents?
Just working with parents. We have a daycare center, but also no buses. So
Got it.
that school is a full-time daycare center, but this one is just after-school parents drop in.
That makes sense. Thank you so much. I don't have any other questions.
Sure.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Glad to see you can be expanding and it's available. I always like seeing businesses succeed. You said in between is a doctor. Who's in 591?
He's the owner of the building.
Okay, so it's a doctor's office. Okay. Yeah, my question would just pertain to the employees, because that determines the parking variation, right? So that's what we need to figure out. So you said 7 employees max, but it would be 7 switching between the two buildings. It wouldn't be 7 new people in the new building?
Yes, and I think we exchanged emails with Brooke that if later on we grow, which I don't think is going to happen this year, just from history, we can add variations later on. I can come for changes, but for now, for this year, it's not going to
Okay,
be more than.
great. I have no problems with the proposal. I'm excited for you. I'm just curious as far as if there's a parking variation required or not, if what we're going to have to do, but that's with us. So I have no further questions for you. Thank you.
No, actually, it is with them, though. If there is a parking variation.
So right,
yeah.
but like, so how does the math work now? If 7 people swinging
Sure.
back and forth, how do we determine that?
I can answer that.
Thank you.
So we're not going to count any of the 7 employees for this new business because they're all existing at the facility at 581 to 583 North Wolf, which is on the same property. That means there are 10 parking spaces that are allocated to this business, which equates to a maximum of 30 students that are allowed.
Right.
And so that would be my suggestion, that there be no more than 30 students at a given time.
Right, so if it's 0 employees, yeah, gotcha. So the proposal says a max of 50 students, so without a variation, you can only have 30, is that going to work for you as opposed to the 50 in the proposal?
Yeah, it's going to work. It's going to take us some time because our classes are 5 to 6 children per class.
Okay,
So our classes are
build up to
small.
that. Got it.
We go for quality, so we keep it very small in terms of the number of students. So it's going to take us some time to even build to 30.
yeah, and I realize the nature of your business is such that people get dropped off anyway. I don't think people are parking, the kids aren't parking themselves and staying there, so it's not like, but it is, according to our parking and zoning, we have to figure this out. But how does that work in the future if she does grow to beyond 30? What happens then?
So then she would return and request a parking variation.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's compliance up to them.
Correct,
So
okay. So
inspections and things like that with the village.
if the village notices it's over 30, we have to
Right.
bring it, okay. So for now, it's good for me, thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Brooke, how many spaces were assigned to the 593 business that was there? Is that the 10 you were talking about, or?
Well, it's been vacant for 6 years.
I'm not exactly sure. I calculated it 10 remaining based on the current uses of all the businesses at the property.
Okay. I was just wondering if, I don't know what was in that end one before.
I don't know either.
Do you know what was in that end one?
It was like a video production or media production company.
Oh, okay. All right. Are you planning on any special events like dance recitals, things like that, that could affect parking?
We're not there just yet. I think with time, I'd love to have some recitals. We just recently, at the daycare center, we just recently had a meeting with parents. So we only had 6 parents who came because of the group. We don't do the entire school, we do groups.
Mm-hmm.
And so that didn't present any issues.
Okay. And did I hear you say this is going to be under a separate business name?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And that's the STEAM Academy?
We'd like to kind of stand out as not just someone who offers classes to younger children, but also to older children, because our older children, they win Olympiads in mathematics. It's a good quality education, but we are associated with younger students, so we'd like to separate the two.
Okay, good. Again, glad you're back and expanding. That's
Thank
all I had, sir.
Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so most of my questions have been answered and asked, or asked and answered. Are there any other vacant spots? is 593 rented? And 591? Or
593
I
is
guess my
the-
question is, are there any parking spots left
I
for
believe,
those other units, Brooke?
no, all the units are occupied if this is approved, and there are 10 remaining parking stalls that are
So-
unallocated.
So everyone's covered on the parking?
Yes.
And everyone's good?
Correct.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So you mentioned that you're open from 8 till 9. But then you also mentioned something about peak hours of 3:30 to something.
To 4:30.
That's your peak hours?
Because for the daycare center, so our daycare center is considered very high quality among Russian-speaking families, and so we don't have just students whose parents work full-time. We have maybe 50% of our students, they also have a babysitter at home, or their mom is a stay-at-home mom, and so usually after they sleep and they get up and then they have a second lunch is when the parents start picking them up. So they don't stay till late hours. Some students do, but few.
So will you have children walking from your facility now to this new facility?
No,
No.
no. No, because we offer classes for our daycare center students as part of the program.
So this is all age-based? So the new space that you have is for a different age than what's currently in?
Yes,
Current
or
phase.
even if the same, because if we only offer classes to school-age children, then in the morning the facility will be completely empty. So even if we offer enrichment-type classes to early education, to 3-year-olds or 2-year-olds, their moms have to bring them, pick them up, but these are completely different students from our full-time daycare center students.
On this new facility, will you have the same type of security that you have now on
Yes.
the keypad, or I think you have a keypad in front there now?
Well, right now we have a keypad, but there's also a director who opens and closes because she wants to see everyone who comes in.
Okay. Yeah, I was there, and I don't anticipate the parking being an issue, and it looks like they may have just restriped some of that. So we talked about bike parking, and we normally require it because of our transportation plans. Is there a way for you to have any type of bike parking inside?
I never considered it. They can, sometimes moms will come with strollers, so I would think they can come with bikes and leave them if they want to. Because they
that
leave
suffice?
strollers inside sometimes.
Sure, if the petitioner states that there's room in their facility for bike storage, then that's adequate.
Okay, all right, let's go with that then. Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions, comments? No. So do I have a motion on docket number 2018-21?
Are there
with
any
the
conditions?
That with the condition that you're going to read right now, Brooke?
Sure. There was one condition in the staff report. I wasn't sure if you wanted to maintain that one regarding insulation.
Well, I think we should, because if he happens to move out, he finds a renter, that I think we should maintain it. Yes. Would everybody be in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the second one is based on the maximum occupancy. That is, due to the parking requirement, there shall be a maximum student occupancy of 30 at a given time.
Great, thank you. So now again, do we have a motion for docket number 2018-21?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Dorban, second by Commissioner Blanova with the conditions read. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Dortman?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes?
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers votes yes, and Chairman Rafato.
Yes. Motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. You'll have something to sign.
Good
You're
luck.
welcome. Good
Thank
luck.
you so much.
Sign up here.
Yeah.
It's fine.
For the sign.
He'll show you.
Sign these two right there, and there's two of them. And that copy is yours. But you don't get to keep the pen. Thank you. Good luck. Good luck. Calling docket number 2018-22, Coffeessions, 820 Wheeling Road, special use site plan approval of a sit-down restaurant. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2018-22, Rufo Perez, owner of Coffeessions, is seeking special use site plan approval as required under Chapter 19-06 Commercial Districts, Chapter 19-10 Use Regulations, Chapter 19-12 Site Plan Approval Requirements, and associated sections to establish a sit-down restaurant at 820 Wheeling Road, Wheeling, Illinois. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Brooke?
Yes, I'd like to note that the staff reports and submittals of the petitioner are part of the public record.
Great, thank you. Is the petitioner here? Yes. Please come forward. Thank you. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
I swear.
Yes. Will you be the only one speaking tonight?
Nope, but the general contractor that is supporting me in this project
So,
is...
sir, right there, if you raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth? Thank you. And when you come up to speak, if you could just give your name and business address, thank you. Okay, thank you. And again, if you
Thank
could,
you.
name and business address, please.
Sure, my name is Rufo Perez, and the business address is 820 Wheeling Road, Illinois, 60090. My personal address is 180 West Manchester Drive, Wheeling, Illinois,
Thank you.
60090.
So the floor is yours to describe what you plan on doing.
Sure. Coffeessions is a high-end coffee house. It's not entirely a new concept, but it's unique in a way. It offers a whole range of food and beverages, including coffee, light meals on the go, on the side of healthy living, and we have also conceived to have a wine bar as part of the coffee house. Again, it's not anything new, but it's not the same as some of the traditional coffee houses you will find out there. It's not the same as Starbucks. It's not the same as Caribou. It's not the same as Dunkin' Donut. One of the things we're trying to accomplish with Coffeessions is to use the platform of the place to launch some healthy living products that myself as a scientist we've been developing over the years, including energy type food and some snacks that you wouldn't find in traditional coffee houses. Connecting with the community, some of the things we want to leverage out of that place is to encourage connection with younger people. Hopefully will be technology driven in a way that would allow convenience to people who are busy and they don't have much time to make a line in a place to purchase coffee. That's kind of the overall description of the place. I'm happy to answer any question.
Can you describe the floor plan? Just what you're going to put in there?
Sure. So we'll have an area for seating.
It's up there, so you can,
Yeah.
okay.
So we'll have the front area for seating that, and again, Byron is right here that he could help me out, but the area for seating is 35, more or less, the capacity. We'll have a corner that will serve as a space for people to socialize. If the community wants to come and have, let's say, a book club, we will offer that space. And so that's in the northeast corner of the front part. We'll have a listening room. And when I made reference to encourage conversation and human connection with the community, that listening room is to allow people who just want to come and listen, a partner, whether it's their daughter or their son or their friends or their potential business partner. So there will be a room there exclusive for those type of activity that's there in the front. On the back, we will have what I call innovation kitchen, but the idea is to have a space where some of the innovation that I make at home, I could potentially do it there as well. It's not a lab; it's an extension of the kitchen, basically, where we will be kind of proving some of the recipes that will be offered in the front part of the business. We'll have some administration space there. The manager of the place will be sitting there. I myself will have a space there to sit. The concept of Coffeessions hopefully is something that we could replicate somewhere else. And so the idea of having a unique concept and that I will be sitting there, and the fact that instead of the landlord building out the premise, I myself, I designed this and will construct it, is precisely to tailor it in a way that I could multiply it in the state and beyond. There is an area on the back that we will use to, let's say, when I was saying that we want to be technology driven, one of the things that we would like to do is to have an app that people could, from their homes, potentially order their coffee by the time they come in their way to work. They could just pull on a slot that will be labeled, and their coffee will be brought to them right there. And that traffic won't be through the front part of the business, but right there on the back. And there will be a lunch area there where folks working at the front could come, and if they need to have a little break, that's where they would come. If they need to have the privacy to make a phone call, that's what they will do. There will be bathrooms on the back for the two genders, and also another bathroom for staff on the other side. At front, we have a vestibule there to make sure that in harsh weathers we have the possibility to have people come in, and it's a transition, it's a place where we will be serving food that also would allow some control of the environment as well. Yeah, so the design has been conceived to allow a good flow, whether people working for Coffeessions or the customers at front.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this matter? Okay. We'll go to the commission now. They'll
Sure.
ask questions. So we will start with Commissioner Dorband.
Thank you. Thank you. I like the whole concept. I like this whole idea. But would you mind elaborating a little bit more on the kinds of food that you're going to
Sure.
be serving?
Yeah. So we'll have, and let me give you this context. When you go to these restaurants where you have the possibility to have coffee or a glass of wine, and almost 99% you have to eat there, like having a big meal. So some of the things we'll be offering are small bites, very healthy and small amounts that, whether it's a quesadilla or small salad, we will have a cart with soups for folks to have small amount of soups. We'll have sandwiches, club sandwiches, very healthy, that people could grab on the run. One of the things we would like to do is to serve as a place to come midday. If you don't have a lot of time, come and have a quick sandwich that you could potentially grab and go back to work. So there is in the business plan, which I don't think I'd share with you, Brooke, but there is a list of those meals that are not strange recipes, small sandwiches, soups, salad, basically.
So are you going to be creating these things on the premises, or are you bringing them in?
There is a kitchen conceived in the layout there that we will be preparing those there. If there are small bites that is more convenient to buy them frozen, we will have a cold storage for those. But for the most part, we will try to have warm, small meals there, yes.
So you'll be preparing like the soup from scratch in your location? Or am I understanding that right?
Again, we'll have both things. There will be some soups that we will make right there. There are some soups that will come prepared, and we'll just reconstitute them and heat them. We will have a cart that will have temperature control, and so people could come and have a bowl of soup with a piece of whole grain bread.
And how many employees do you anticipate having there throughout the whole day?
Sure. The peak amount of people I envision having there, 15 people total, including myself, the chef, and then the manager, the assistant of the place, and then we'll have about 4 to 5 people in front serving coffee and some of the sandwiches. We'll have one staff that will bring some of the coffee, the takeout to customers who want that. And we'll have a couple of people on the wine bar as needed.
Have you thought about having exterior seating?
That was a conversation I had with Brooke. I think for the beginning, we will start only inside. In the future, I think that the concept we have will also lend itself to have outside seating, including in the winter, because some of the things we want to do is to have hot wine that people could enjoy the winter while being outside, actually.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. It is a unique concept.
Thank you.
Basically, you will have 15 people, including management, to serve a little over 32 customers, the max, right, that you can have there?
That's our calculation based on the amount of seats that we are allowed to comply with the law. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. It just looked like a little too much maybe, I don't know. But what really strange, maybe it's normal, that over 2/3 of the property will be occupied by the owners, management kitchen, and only small part for sitting area.
Well, one of the things we want to do is to allow convenience from the sense that you don't have to sit to have your coffee. In fact, the apps that I was making reference, people will order their coffee and will come and go. I think when I made reference about having some administration there is looking into the next 5 years, because we will expand. And so some of the folks, including the manager, not in the first year or two, but in the third year or so, we will start branching out, and we will do it from there.
So there's some people can have a quick service. For example, you mentioned something like a drive-through, but you don't technically have drive-through. Can you give me just a little more detail how that's going to work? Someone will just run out to give some coffee, or
Sure. So there are two ways that will happen, and I'm happy that we're starting with our drive-through, because that drive-through, believe it or not, you waste time sitting in your car. And some of the things we want to do is to cut that time. So we'll have that app that people will, from their home, with a Siri, call Coffeessions, I want a mocha. And that will come to the system, will show up in a screen, and based on the location that person is, will calculate the time that the staff will have to prepare that coffee. By the time that person comes into the parking lot, the dot corresponding to that person will turn green. The person will come from the outside and bring the coffee on 5 slots that will be separated for takeout.
got it, but at the same time, in the evening, probably you want them to stay longer.
In the evening, yes. And so I would be extremely happy if 35 people stay in the evening, for sure.
Got it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Intriguing concept. It was interesting. You said it's not a new concept, but it's sort of different than Starbucks. So I'm trying to just differentiate. Obviously, the wine is different. Is there going to be any other sort of alcohol, or just the wine bar?
For now, it's wine.
Okay.
I have a connection with wine. I'm a scientist myself. I got my PhD at Michigan State at an enology lab, so
Okay.
I know how to make wine. Some of those folks, they have their own winery. And so we'll kind of showcase some of the good Midwest wine that we have in the region, basically.
So you don't make your own, you just know good wine. You don't make your own wine?
No.
Okay.
Not for now.
Yeah, gotcha.
Eventually, who knows?
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, you said you were a scientist. Do you have any history of hospitality or working as a chef? Or you said you make some creations at home.
Yeah.
Is it just a hobby, or have you worked or run any businesses in this industry before?
I haven't had a restaurant. I had a business myself, but not a restaurant. I do cook.
Okay.
I cook to my kids. And so I had my own lab. I used to work for Kraft.
Okay.
And so I do understand taking recipes and converting them into eatable stuff.
Okay. Yeah, hospitality is interesting, especially when you're even potentially going up against Starbucks. You got to be aware of all the intricacies. But is the innovation kitchen?
If I might say.
Yeah, please.
Actually, that's a very good question, and is one of those things that I've been, even the bank wants to vet the person that would come to manage the site, that would have the experience of running.
That's what I was going to ask. How's your management team set
so
up?
So that person is a requirement, which I'm in
You haven't filled it yet,
of
obviously.
hiding right now.
Okay.
We'll have hospitality, business, restaurant background, yes.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. That should have been my question, is
Thank you.
who is going to manage the place? Because it'll be a learning curve, I'm sure, because I like cooking too, but I'm not qualified to start a restaurant. So the innovation kitchen, I like that idea. I think it's nice for you to portray some of your skills, but is that open to the public, or is that just something where you would?
Very good question. And some of the idea is, when I talk about connecting with community, is that, some people don't know how coffee is roasted.
Right.
And how you make, like an emulsion, which is like a sorbet that people eat, but they don't have a clue how it's made.
Yeah.
So Byron can tell you, he has been helping me in the design. The idea is to have, as you see the hallway that goes from the entrance to the back. The idea is to have the possibility to people who are intrigued by, what we do, that we do give them tours. We'll invite some high schools and or middle schools to come and see what we do.
I think that'd be great. And I love that you're all about community and experiences,
Right.
and like that's where retail needs to go in this day and age. When I was in middle school, we went to La Titi de Paris, and we went in the kitchen. It was great. So I like the concept of being able to show people behind the scenes sort of stuff. So I like that concept. I was just curious.
Thank
I
you.
wasn't sure exactly what that hallway, this extra door that goes into the admin office, are customers going to be able to go through that, or is that just for your staff?
And that's, again, a very good question, because we don't want the traffic in the business, we want to keep that isolated.
Yeah.
And so the customers will come and they have the tranquility to do whatever they want to do. If it's take advantage of the free Wi-Fi to do their job, that nobody bothers them. Whoever will do the tour will have to enter on the other door that goes through the administration.
Okay. Any ideas if you're going to have live entertainment at any? I know this is kind of a social gathering thing. Have you thought about live entertainment, music, anything?
You're asking me great questions, because my daughter is a drummer.
Okay.
And the name of Coffeessions is hers, actually.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we would do, and again, that's something that will come back if a permit is needed, because that's not, won't start with that, but every Thursday we will have, from the high school or a teenager band playing jazz there for a few hours every Thursday.
I think that'd be great, or just a light acoustic or something. It's a good ambiance. There's some sandwich shop that has an acoustic guitar that I really like, so.
Yeah.
I like the idea of creating the experience. Like, I wasn't sure what the listening room was. I thought maybe you would have like a record player, or like actually listening.
Not music.
Just literally humans listening to each other, which is a rare thing these days, apparently.
That's exactly right.
So that's, I mean, I like coffee, I like wine. I think it's a blending of a lot of cool things, and if you can bring a unique set of food to the table, which you said you have, I think that could be unique. Always looking for good places to go, and Starbucks kind of gets old after a while, so let's see. You have no other locations. This is a concept for your first location, yeah?
That's the first location. Is something that I've been nurturing since my days at Kraft.
Okay.
And I haven't had the stamina to venture myself into that. But
Got it.
now is the time.
I'm a business owner myself, I get it. You've got quite an aggressive plan for expanding. I mean, are you looking to franchise this idea if this works?
Not franchise, but the chain concept, I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. The layout looks fine to me. I really like the innovation kitchen idea, listening room, just different sorts of way. And then the lower right corner, is that a gas fire pit that I was reading? Gas fire table?
Right.
Okay.
That corner is a space where a group could come, and if they want to talk about a book, which we will try to promote, or just a group to gather and chat.
I see meetup groups all the time at Panera, Starbucks, stuff like that, so that'd be a nice place to go.
Everybody goes for those seats first, they're premium.
Yeah.
Down by the fireplace.
Yeah. And you have the benefit also of being right near Wheeling High School, so I think that it's a good location if this works out for you, I think, so. I was also a little bit confused about the 15 employees for 35 people, but that's for you to figure out. I was just 9 to 15 seemed like overkill, but I'm sure you'll figure that out along the way.
You have 15.
If you could speak into the microphone,
yeah.
sir, thank you. And your
Are you
name?
gonna, Byron Gregory. Did you need my address, my business address?
Business address is fine, sir.
1833 Pheasant Court, Flossmoor, Illinois.
Great, thank you, sir.
Sure. I've just been around and trying to interpret his vision.
Sure.
You know, as a
Fine.
builder, I've got 30 years' experience, so you know, you want to get into the concept. Even this meeting is helping me with your questions to try to bring it to fruition for him. But from our conversations, are you going to start with 15 employees, or was that after it evolved? I thought it was a certain number that were basically administrative for this location and future locations, and then some in the innovative kitchen. So that's not 15 people actively involved in
Got it.
food service. That was my idea. It was two portions to this deal, from the admin management, and it's not just restaurant management in the administrative office. That was my understanding of it.
And I don't think it matters as it pertains to the special use. I was just curious. It doesn't matter how many employees you have.
Yeah, the 15 people is thinking on the ability of, you know, having a good amount of customers who would use our app and order their, you know, their coffee or whatever they would like, and so we could, you know, serve them in a takeout fashion.
Right.
Obviously, those were numbers that came out of our projection in terms of, you know, how many people
Sure.
will come and see it, and yeah.
You'll figure it out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I was just, again, it's not a requirement. I was just curious.
It'd be almost like one-on-one.
Which would be great, but for your bottom line, I'm not sure it would be so great. Unless these people work for free, which would be great also.
You can go and see it.
Is there any other establishment that you could think of that's similar to this concept that?
You know what, I like Cooper's Hawks, for instance. They have wine, they have an area where you can go and, you know, sport. If there is a game, you could grab something to eat.
Are you going to have TVs and entertainment like
right.
that? Yeah.
Say again?
Are you going to have TVs?
We'll have 2 TVs.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And, but, again, if you go to Cooper's Hawks, you will have to sit there and buy
It's a great
a
environment.
lot of food to eat. You know, I'm targeting a group that would, a segment of the market that is interested in healthy living and
Great.
human connection, and that the food, the massive amount of food that we are used to is not as important to them. So Cooper's Hawks would be one that would have similarity. Starbucks, it seems like they are going more into the wine bar part.
Okay.
Yeah, but there is nothing that is exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a comment, I would love to have seen like a visualization, like a 3D sort of render. I know, you know, things like that cost money, but this is a cool concept. I wish I could have seen a visual of like the listening room and the innovation kitchen just to see it. So if there's any way you can visualize besides the 2D rendering here, like the schematic is great. But if it's even possible to kind of show what it would be, I think that'd be nice for the trustees to be able to see and to cast your vision and let them see it a little better. So that's it, but I like the idea. Wish you luck, and that's
Thank
all
you.
for me.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Very interesting concept. I'm very interested in it. And I see that you've already trademarked the name and everything.
Yes.
So you've been working on this for a while, I take it.
I've been working since 2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it looks like you've been all over the world checking out coffee, too.
I've been all over the world checking out coffee. It's not reflected there, but we will have a magazine called Coffeessions. Is a kind of
Printed or
mainly
electronic?
digital, but
Yeah,
we will
okay.
have printed copies too.
Okay.
And so the idea is to showcase some unique coffees in the world, and coffee and culture and so forth.
Oh, it's good to see a Wheeling resident opening a business in
Yeah,
Wheeling.
I really like that too.
Yeah, because those are my early questions until you said you were a resident, is why Wheeling? You know, just out of curiosity, but.
And I want to do it here. And a little story there is that I was struggling to find a place to have the store, and there were some in Buffalo Grove, there were some in Northbrook, and I waited and waited until because I wanted to do it here.
Great, appreciate that. And hopefully will become known as the place it all started when you, when you spread out to different states and everything. Back to current business, the trash enclosure, I think in the staff report, there was some confusion that the trash enclosure in the back has to be fixed up.
Yeah, so I had told Brooke that there was a centrally located dumpster, but that belongs to the bank.
Yes.
That is in the plaza. So Byron and I, after I talked to you, we went and checked on the back.
I saw that.
Yes, that one. And so the landlord has been informed, about preparing the enclosure, making it compliant.
I think everything else I had, hours of operation.
We will be, since we will have 3 streams of services, coffee and breakfast, so that would be starting from 6 o'clock, and then all the way to 9:30, where we'll be closed. Probably the schedule for the public will be from 6:30 to 9. But for the business will be from 6 to 9:30.
Okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with my Mr. Johnson and everyone else. What a great idea. I would encourage you to maybe put a few craft beers in there, since I'm a beer drinker and not a wine drinker. I think that might help get me
Get
there
one
for
customer,
sure.
yes.
My other question was, as far as your innovation kitchen, which is a great idea, are you going to have any sorts of like cooking classes on top of your demonstrations?
One of the things we would like to do is to share knowledge, whatever it takes, and some of the tours we'll do to schools. Obviously, we will have themes, like, some of them will be dehydration, like how could you remove water from seeds to make it, crunchy, and how you make emulsion, those sorbets that, kids like.
Great idea.
Yeah, and so we will have, to the extent we can, in a safe way. But yes, we'll have that.
Well, the rest of my questions are pretty much about the site. You mentioned the trash enclosures. I see that there's a lot of issues at this particular strip mall. The parking lot is in terrible condition on all sides. Even in the back, it's pretty bad. The other trash enclosures every one of them are bad. You have a handicapped parking spot on the north side of the property that is signed, but there's no curb cut. So I don't know if this is, up to you, or if this is up to the owner. Take care of some of these things, landscaping, a bike rack.
I could answer it. One of the requirements for me to rent the place was that, and Byron can tell you, was to fix the northern part of the parking because I saw water there. And my first degree was in irrigation, so I know whatever there is water is because there is not way out, and they have to do some work there. So they committed to fixing that. So they will be fixing that part, the potholes on the front of the premise as well. The ramp is even in the contract, because I asked them, you know, by law, you cannot have a handicap ramp away from the entrance. So in the contract, it is established that they have to move that handicap space and open a ramp right next to the entrance of the place.
And again, bicycle rack is something that, you know, we like to have, especially you're talking about, you know, you're trying to attract a lot of the younger kids to your place. I'm thinking that you're going to need somewhere for those kids to lock up their bikes, because
It's a requirement now, right?
designated smoking area. I don't know if they have one here at this mall or not. Landscaping. Did we get a landscaping?
There is no
So no-
approved landscape plan on file for this shopping center.
So does this mean he doesn't have to do any landscaping? Since we require it on all the other ones, I know it's not, I don't feel it would be fair for him necessarily to, you know, foot this bill, but I mean, the owner of this strip mall possibly can, you know, throw some money in here, spruce it up a bit, because it's in sad condition.
Well, even that area right there,
Yeah, I mean, even the grass is, you know, I understand the stone along the side because it's hard to grow stuff there, but
like that area right
I mean, we
there.
got stuff growing in all the cracks of the sidewalks, and, I mean, of course, yes, that north end of the parking lot where the handicap in is in horrible condition. The back of this building, all the dumpsters are in bad shape.
So Brooke, is that an enforcement issue that we need to get on this owner? Because I understand that for instance, what I saw the same things that Commissioner Creech saw. The dumpster area that they would have, that establishment should be using needs to be repaired. But there's two others that are in horrible shape, that they're not even being used because the dumpsters are outside the building. I mean, they're right outside the building. They're not.
Yeah, right in the back.
Yeah, they're not being utilized they should be within the area that's what they're there for. You know, they're built out. So it's tough to put that on the petitioner, but how do we put legs against it in enforcing this? And the condition of it, as Commissioner Creech was being generous in his description, the back is in horrible shape. It's in horrible shape. So how can that be addressed?
Well, I think the portions of the property that are in direct relation to the special use here, including the trash enclosure, the parking areas right adjacent to this business, including the north parking lot, and perhaps even the landscaped area that's shown in this picture, I think those may be addressed by the Plan Commission tonight.
Okay.
I think the larger issues of the site, including the other trash enclosures and the overall conditions of the parking lot, probably should be addressed through code enforcement, because that's only fair since the petitioner is only talking about one portion of the property.
Something definitely has to be done. And it will enhance his business if the property is cleaned up. There are two other restaurants there. There's a sandwich shop and Chinese, Asian food that I'm sure would be chomping at the bit to have something better there. So I know that can't be a condition to Commissioner Creech's point, but, well, maybe the landscaping can be, but.
Part of it.
Yeah.
Should be, I understand that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner
Also,
Creech, but I wanted
also
to-
the other thing I noticed there was, there's no fence along the back of this property either, that it opens up to that retention pond, or that, if it's a retention pond, I'm not quite sure, but I notice a lot of, refuge being blown into that area all along the bank as well. Again, I know this is not the petitioner's issue, but
Well, I think, again,
think-
that could be code enforcement
I think
also.
that would be something else that, because it is littering that lake, and I believe that lake is private property. My other question was that gas-fired table, is that enclosed, or is there open flame?
It's enclosed. Nowadays, there are modern fireplace with gas that they don't.
Okay, that's why.
They have an
I thought.
ornamental characteristic too. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clarify again, your hours, it's going to be Monday through Sunday daily, like 6:30 to 9? Is that your intent?
I think
Or
it's
6 to 9 to 30?
6 to 9:30.
Monday through Sunday?
Monday.
7 days a week?
7 days.
Okay. To Commissioner Blanova's question, I just want to understand this again for coffee delivery. You will have designated spaces in front of your establishment, and somebody orders the coffee, you'll come out and bring it out to their vehicle, correct?
It's not in front.
Okay.
The northern part of the parking,
Okay.
which is kind of away from the traffic, that's the designated area,
Okay.
which is closer to the staff who will come to bring the coffee to them.
Great. And to Commissioner Creech's comments about the property, I have the same concerns. That's all I'm going to say. And I have nothing else. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Creech, thank you for bringing up those concerns, because I had the very same concerns. It's a great concept, but I think as a village, we need to do some code enforcement to help you and the other vendors that are there. But this area here, we would like to see some landscaping there in that front area, and maybe you can work with the owner, if he could put landscaping there, and then there's another one at the end. If you're working with him, I think he would like to have it bookended. But at the minimum, I think we're all in agreement that we would like to see landscaping in this area, correct? Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
See a whole bunch of nods, great. And-
Do coffee plants grow here?
And you
No,
can,
if we have the outside seating, we could have umbrella seating there for people to enjoy the outside and have a cup coffee.
so, and you
patio.
can work with staff on the landscaping that we would like to see on that. And as far as the bike rack, I think a bike rack at the end here might work. I see there could be something right there at the end. I'm looking at an overhead view here that might work. And as Commissioner Creech said, you're going to have a designated smoking area that's got to be, well, you have to be 15 feet away from the entrance to your establishment.
I think that's possible.
Okay, cool.
The corners, two corners or something.
One of the questions that I had, and this was from the external grease basin, is that what does that mean? Is it?
So, depending on, and this is something that's going to have to be decided by our health department based on their menu selection and what they're going to be cooking in-house versus catering in, I guess. If
You might want to use, I don't know if you're close to a microphone.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Depending on the health, department's requirements, they may need an external grease basin or an internal one. Internal one is really not that big of a deal. Usually they can be placed in the kitchen and hooked up to the interior plumbing, but an external one needs permitting from the village, needs permitting from the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and usually the requirement is it's 1,000 gallons. So it's a pretty large structure that has to be incorporated into the plumbing. That's all based on strictly on their menu and what they're going to be cooking. So that's kind of why that requirement and conditions in there.
So external means external
To the building.
to the building?
Yes. It's generally,
Yeah.
most of the time, it's just too big to be constructed inside. It's also built into the ground, and every so often, a vac truck needs to come in there and suck out all the grease, so you can't really do that if it's inside. So yeah, 1,000 gallons is our minimum requirement for that, so it's quite large.
So what I saw and this isn't related to your business, in one of the areas, it looked like a grease dumpster.
That's not the case here. You might be thinking of something similar like behind Joe's Pizza. They have a grease dumpster type thing back there, which, promotes lots of smells. It's not very, aesthetically pleasing. This interior, or this external grease basin is built into the ground. It's below grade, has 2 manhole covers on it for the both.
Oh, gosh.
That separates it, so.
Okay.
It's quite a big deal. It's, like I said, it's based on the menu.
So that's
I'm assuming they're not going to get there
that's
with it.
permitting and,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay. And the reason why I asked is because I saw this external dumpster, grease dumpster, if you will, out there, and I, that's outside, external, so, but yours is more elaborate.
Yeah.
But again, Brooke, that's everything around enforcement here that that is going to, overall for that. So Commissioner Creech asked that this, Ron, from this ventless gas fire table, is that any?
There are provisions in the fuel gas code and the mechanical code for those type of appliances, and it would have to comply with those provisions in the code.
Okay, cool. All right, great. So you mentioned, I'm looking at, who's going to be your primary customer? Who do you think, who is going to be your target on something like, and I love your name.
Yeah, thank you. Well, when I say high-end coffee house, what I have in mind are people who will appreciate the concept, who might not be the massive market. And so I'm thinking Generation Z, meaning those fellows born in the 90s and beyond, is one segment who would, want the environment of coming with free Wi-Fi and do their homework. The millennials are those who will like the wine part of it, the digital life, convenience. And then we have older folks who would love, getting together, listening, reading. And so there is only a percentage of the population that appreciate that. So that's why, if I quantify, I think from the whole spectrum, but the younger generation would be the bulk of the market segment that we are targeting.
Interesting. Okay. Because, and you do mention it, the industrial base that's all along Wheeling
Right.
Road, north and south of you, there's a ton there, and If you go by, I was there at lunch, I went by there yesterday at lunchtime, and that the sandwich shop always seemed busy. So I would assume that's all local, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. Okay. And baby boomers also like wine too, so
Yeah.
don't forget about us. So are there any other questions, comments? Brooke, we have a number of conditions.
We have several, and Attorney Ferrolo just suggested another one with regard to liquor licensing. Attorney Ferrolo, would it be appropriate to say that special use approval shall be subject to liquor license approval?
Yes, I would say this so the petitioner's aware, add a condition that indicates that the wine sale component of the business is conditioned upon the receipt of the appropriate liquor license from the village's liquor commission, which I think is going to be a B1 license, which is a beer and wine license. We do not have just a wine license per se.
There you go, Creech.
All set together.
So you have to have beer then for,
So that, I'd suggest you add that.
Great, well, thank you. But one more thing, Brooke, that I had written here, and I forgot to say, we're talking about outdoor seating, so you're not going to go with that concept now, but if you do that, you would have to come back to us, but it would be a minor site plan approval. So just to keep that in the back of your mind, that if you do request that, it's going to be something minor, just comes to us, and there's no village, it doesn't go forward to the village, so.
Okay.
Okay?
Good to know.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, Brooke, go ahead.
So the full list is, 1, that the trash enclosure gates for the subject unit shall be repaired prior to occupancy. 2, that the parking area on the north side of the building shall be repaved and restriped prior to occupancy. 3, the use may include live musical performances. 4, it is recommended that staff enforce the property maintenance issues, including but not limited to the condition of the dumpsters and the parking lot and the lack of the rear fence. 5, the green space directly in front of the subject unit shall be landscaped prior to occupancy. 6, a bike rack shall be installed on the subject property, preferably near the subject unit prior to occupancy. 7, a smoking area shall be designated prior to occupancy. And 8, special use approval shall be subject to liquor license approval.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Brooke. So do I hear a
Motion approved, Mr. Chairman.
motion on docket number 2018-22? We
And
had a
I'll
motion
second.
by Commissioner
Powers?
Powers, thank you. Second by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes,
Commissioner Kalis?
yes.
Chairman Rafato?
Yes. You'll have something to sign? And you're
Yeah,
on
can
your...
I ask a quick question?
Of course.
One of the big steps I have in front of me is building out the place, and so I wouldn't be able to do that without this approval, right? That's there.
And
We can talk about that tomorrow if
Okay.
you'd like to call me during
Sure.
office hours.
Okay,
so you have one more meeting to go.
okay, okay,
At least.
The
Yeah, that-
village board meeting.
very good.
And she will give you all of the details when you call Brooke.
Okay,
She'll give you those details.
thank you.
And you just have something to sign. A motion to close?
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. So, sir, if you sign both of those, and one copy is yours, and then what this shows you is how we voted and also all the conditions that you have to adhere to. Good luck to you. Session, meeting back into session. Calling docket numbers PC 18-14 and SCBA 18-36. Old Munich Inn, 582 North Milwaukee Avenue, minor site plan, PC 18-14, minor site plan appearance approval of building and site modifications, and SCBA 18-36, appearance approval of awning and wall signs. Brooke? Anything to add?
Nothing at this time.
Great. Petitioners here? You're the last one, so I assume you are. Thank you. If you can just state your name and business address as you begin to speak. Thank you.
Sure. Bill Lombardi's, 582 North Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling.
Okay, great. And your name, sir?
Paul Sieben, 870 West Hillside, Palatine.
Thank you. So the floor is yours, sir.
So basically, I'm sure you guys all know the old Munich, needing to be revived, cleaned up a lot, and basically reestablish the tavern use.
So can you describe what you're here for right now? Go through the detail of that.
Basically, the approval for the signage, landscaping, overall, any aesthetic improvement that was, I spoke with Brooke about recommending the use, and what else? I mean, I'm sure you guys seen it all, the windows, the awnings, the signage, I went through all the, what would be approved, what not, restrictions, landscape, the lot, lighting.
So describe from the top to the bottom what you're going to replace, repaint, all those things.
Well,
so everybody that's watching this can
okay,
see
great.
what
So
you're doing.
in the top right picture, you can see the face of the building. The color scheme, we're going to keep the same. The browns, the dark browns, and the creams will remain. The shingles, the shaker style, will be covered with brand new dark brown awning fabric that will wrap around the building, covering the shaker shingles. The front, what we propose also to enhance the building, the bottom portion which was damaged, was the veneer stone that will go across the bottom, and then we believed enhancing the front, because that's, you can see by the two existing windows, just adding the stone look over there. The top will remain all the siding to be painted cream, similar color. The windows replaced, new vinyl windows. The roof is this desert tan color, which already is, you know, the top is done, but certain other areas need to be covered with this 3D architectural shingle. The colors are along the lines of, this is a classic taupe, and the brown for
So
the...
if you could just...
Sure.
Just tell us.
And then this is the stacked stone look for the bottom, front, and the south elevation, the lower section, more of this brown family color, the mocha color. You guys can see.
Yeah, what is that material?
Full panel stone. I use it actually in
So it's plastic?
yeah.
Okay, sure.
So in this color, which is ties in with the neutral colors of the existing colors of the building.
Yeah, just pass it down. You can start right here.
So it's vinyl?
It's, what more of this is it, a vinyl? Yeah.
Can you please speak into the mic?
So it's
We have a
vinyl.
handheld
I
mic
can
too.
hold
It's vinyl.
It's called a faux stone. It's used in applications where it would be difficult to actually put stone and mortar on a building.
it's vinyl.
But in the case we have here, the places where that faux stone is going has trim on the sides. So once the area of stone is trimmed out, you won't be able to tell that it's not real stone. So it's really more of just an application for what the building will allow. You know, if you have to put real stone on a building, typically you have an extended concrete foundation underneath it that'll support it because it's a lot of weight. This is a lightweight alternative to get that look. So it's essentially a siding type product that's hung on the plywood sheathing, but it's made to look like stone. reality, and we're using it in just a small area to accent, you can see on the new east elevation. It's basically the facade that faces Milwaukee Avenue. We're looking to dress up that facade.
And this is the material for the siding, but it will be this brown color, this left side, panel side. For the existing, wherever it is brown around the building, the remaining areas on the lower level. The second level will all be cream color, remaining color.
Pretty much, yeah, and in these photos, pretty much anywhere you see the dark brown siding wrapping around the first floor, that's a older, plywood T111 type siding. This is a maintenance-free. Again, this will be a double lap vinyl siding. Will go over it'll either be stripped or go over the existing that's there. So this will be just a maintenance-free new siding.
And the doors will also be replaced, all steel brown doors. And the lighting, gooseneck lighting above the front of the building still have visibility and signage.
Speak into the microphone, please.
Sorry. The three gooseneck lights above the main awning for visibility, as well as underneath of the awning, there's can lights across the whole front of the building to showcase all the improvements. You'll be able to see the stone better, the paint, the trims, and we're keeping the same aesthetic, the feel of the wood that crosses over and so forth.
Why don't you talk about your signage also?
The signage we discussed, I went over with Brooke. It's, you can see in these two pictures that it would, the existing shingles that are there, exact area will be covered with the fabric, that brown color, that will go completely across that shaker shingle. So you won't be able to see the damaged shingles. And then also across the backside for the ramp use, which for ADA requirements, we will be building a ramp. And that additional signage in the what is that, the south side of facing the south side of the building. So the other side of the
north
traffic,
side.
north side will be able to distinguish that what type of use this is instead of a home-looking place, which is still aesthetic, nice, but they'll be able to know what we have in there, and we'll have some televisions for sporting events, and be able to have Commissioner Creech will be able to enjoy several taps.
I've drank there before.
Good job.
Landscaping, I'm sorry, in the landscaping, we have a detailed plan along both sides of the building, including the front of the building. Will be completely redone. All the grass will be pulled. What else? And then the parking, the lot will be repaved, seal-coated, striped. Patchwork will be done where it's needed. What else do we have? That's pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of work, but believe that this reopening and reviving the establishment to our restaurant row will be a great thing. But a lot of people constantly reaching out about it, and just anticipating opening finally.
Okay, thank you. So we'll go to the commission. We're going to start with Commissioner Blanova.
Thank you. I don't have any comments.
No comments at this time? Commissioner Kalis.
Thank you, Chairman. I love that you are attempting to revive this. I think it's a iconic place on our restaurant row, and it deserves a refresh, so I appreciate it. I think in general, most of the improvements are good and obviously better. The painting of the stucco, I think, you were going to paint stucco and paint the siding, yes, instead of replacing it or removing
The stucco
it?
that's in the front, the cream color will remain cream, because we want to show the differentiation of, you can see it, there's a,
Which part
Rick,
is?
can you, that picture of the front of the building, the colored
Okay.
pictures? Right there. So that's pretty much going to stay like where you
So
see
the
the
bottom, the main
angles.
floor is stucco on the left side, where I'm looking, because the top is all siding, right?
Correct.
And then the bottom is stucco with,
The left portion where the
Yeah.
angled trim is stucco and trim, sort of the alpine feel.
Okay.
And then there's a little bit wrapping around the south side. Those are
Okay.
the only two areas that are existing.
got it. And the plan is to just paint that, yes?
Correct, because the stucco
Yeah.
itself's in pretty
Right.
good shape.
I've got that. For sure. I love the stone addition. I like the contrast of that. We historically have had don't really like painting things. I'm just curious about the maintenance, like how do you feel that painting stucco is going to last a long time? How durable is it? What sort of, how are you going to guarantee that it's, painting stucco is going to be maintenance-free in the future? Maybe not maintenance-free, but not falling apart like it is now. Just kind of.
Stucco is actually in decent condition.
If you could speak into the microphone.
The stucco is in decent condition that's in the front, which is, it's going to be filled where needed and then painted. Every soffit, if needed, be painted. As maintenance goes, will be done.
Okay.
But the brown, actually, the wood that's around the building is what's going to be replaced with the siding.
That's, okay.
That's what's really needs attention.
Yeah, and so that's vinyl siding, both the one that looks like bricks and the one that, they're both vinyl, the one that looks like bricks and the one that's not, okay.
Correct.
I'm assuming there will be something, typically good real brick is preferred. Is it just based on cost that you don't want to do? You said it's lighter weight, it's maintenance free and all that sort of stuff. Was it because it's maintenance free or because it's cheaper? Or like the higher quality would be to do actual brick?
Yes, it would, but when you do real stone or real brick, typically, because of the weight of it, you need a foundation that extends. If you have a brick veneer home, you have the stud wall, and then in front of it is the brick wall, but the concrete foundation wall extends beneath both. You need a foundation to support the weight of the brick. Here, we don't have that. The foundation is even with the outside stud wall. So it's a way to sort of emulate that brick look, but physically we can't put real brick and real stone on it. So we turn to this alternative.
Okay.
It will look clean, though. I know what your concern is. It's not going to look like a little panel, and you're like, what is this? Like, it's going to be out bordered properly.
There will, I'm sure, be more questions about that, but I'm not the resident expert there necessarily. So you said you're going to repave and stripe, obviously, all that, okay? Because that parking lot is rough. And then you mentioned the dark brown below. You were going to cover it with something, but are you going to remove that wood first, or are you just covering the dark brown wood that exists on the main floor right now?
Yeah, I believe that the dark brown vertical siding on the remaining is probably best that it be stripped off down to the substrate.
Yes.
To make sure that it's a clean.
Because that's actual wood, right?
Yeah.
So if it was just covered, it would
It's a thin veneer plywood, and there's some cases where it's peeling.
It would get moldy and, so
it would be much more beneficial for that to be stripped off.
So
give
you
a
will?
solid substrate for the vinyl side.
Okay, so that will be done, because before you said it might be done. It might be removed.
I think it's best that the siding be stripped off.
I also believe you should strip it off. Okay. The sign with the beer and the slots, and apparently you're a Blackhawks fan, but not a Cubs, Bulls, White Sox, or anybody else fan, which is fine by me. Or maybe it's just that there's a ball for every other. It's the sign. I totally get what you're trying to do. It's a little cheap looking to me. Like, I think that the character of that building is so good. Like, it's iconic, and I think that this is kind of I don't know. I think this sign could be better. It just seems a little haphazardly placed icons. I'm not a designer, I don't know exactly what would be
Yeah,
great.
I agree.
I just think it's a little clip arty, a little cheap looking, especially for the prestige that this building holds in this town. And obviously, you're not gonna make it look like old Munich, like Oktoberfest necessarily, but I appreciate the Germany nod, I appreciate sports, I appreciate beer. I just think it could be done in a nicer way to represent it as a more high-class way. That's my thoughts on that. Other than that, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. Had a question about the parking lot, but that is going to be taken care of, correct?
Yes.
The only other thing that stood out for me is I don't see the address anywhere on the building. In any of the current photos and any of the plans, we need to have a very visible address out there, either on your awnings or...
If there is room, I'll discuss with Brooke. We can see if there's room on the awning on the corner, but I actually have that established.
We require it.
Right.
Yeah.
It
So,
doesn't
The front door?
necessarily have to be on the awning, but it should be on, somewhere on the property.
And on the other door, I was going to put it on the ramp entrance as well, that has the address.
Does it need to be on the facade that faces Milwaukee Avenue?
I think so, yes.
Oh, it does.
that's the only thing I had.
I'm sure there's, in the code, it specifies how high it needs to be and specifically where it needs to be mounted.
We can put it on the stone as
Yeah,
well.
so we'll definitely incorporate that.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I had, sir.
Right on the stone, that big window next to the window on the stone.
Commissioner Creech.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The stucco, is it mesh and real stucco? Wire mesh and stucco, is that, or are they panels?
I believe it's, no, the
Can't really tell,
I believe
but-
it's wire mesh and stucco looking at the finish of it, because the trim is applied over the top of it. No, the stucco in between all the trim. There's no like visible stucco, like panel joints.
Well, yeah, because they're covered by the boards, but I was just wondering if they were panels or if they were real wire mesh. Because like on the front elevation where one of the lights are, it looks like a piece of texture 111 that was painted. Because I see lines. So I was curious about that.
I'm sorry, in which area again?
On the front elevation, right to the left of the window, the double bypass window,
Yes.
where the light is, that piece looks like a piece of texture 111 because it looks like there's stripes up and down.
Oh, are you looking at the bottom elevation or the top, the existing
Yes.
east or new east?
And then there's also a piece that's right next to that vestibule on the north.
Which diagram on what we're looking at here? Is it new south, new east? What diagram are you looking at?
I'm looking at the color photos, like where this new sign is. All right, front elevation, right where that lantern.
Correct, that is existing T111 siding.
Okay.
That's the area that's going to be stripped off.
That's
and
gonna get
replaced
covered?
with the stone, the faux
Right.
stone. The right-hand portion of that front elevation underneath the awning.
And what about around the corner where the sign is? That's going to be that,
Around the corner, I believe, will be around the corner.
Where the
in that-
entrance is.
In that photograph at the very left, again, is the stucco and trim. That will
well, that's what
remain.
I'm saying. On your drawing, you show on the front where you're going to have that faux stone, and then right around the corner where that sign is, you have 3 panels that are the stucco again.
Well, the stucco is existing, and so we're leaving, everywhere there's stucco on the building now, we're leaving it, and because the stucco's in good shape, and we feel that speaks to the character of the old Munich. So wherever there's stucco, it's, right, the stucco with the angled trim, those 3 areas on this small portion of the north elevation, on the south elevation, and then the left half of the east elevation, all that stucco and trim will remain and be repainted. Again, we want to just sort of keep the flavor of the old Munich. It's sort of an alpine look. We wanted to.
Okay, but you don't know if it's cement stucco or if it's their panels.
We're not sure, but
Okay.
all our investigation, everything we've seen for that stucco, it's in good shape. It's not peeling or anything like that. So that's why we want that to simply remain and be repainted.
Okay.
It's the T111 siding that's in sorrier shape that we're replacing.
Parking lot. Everything's going to be torn up and replaced and restriped, correct?
No, it will be seal coat, striped, crack filler, and then that area that has damages will be all renewed with new patch.
Well, that north end of that parking lot is, from the picture that I see, is pretty useless. So I would recommend that be completely torn out and replaced. And then on the south side, you're talking about where you're putting your handicap ramp. You're talking about putting the handicap ramp and then extending the bed. And then I was curious about, because I don't have dimensions on my pamphlet, if that driveway is going to be wide enough after you're done putting the ramp in and the planting beds. Because you said you were going to widen that.
Yeah, the ramp doesn't stick out very far. There's maybe, I'd have to measure it.
Well, there's a dimension, there's an ADA that you have to follow for the ramp, right?
And we've, as far as the remaining width of that driveway, we meet the width of it. There's not very much that has to be taken. And really the only part of the asphalt that's taken out is where it angles in towards the back of the building. The driveway width up near the
Well,
front.
it says remove existing paving on my package, so that's why I'm asking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on this plan, yeah, the portion of the driveway on the upper right-hand section of this plan, that portion is existing. Where it hits about where that handicap ramp starts, there's a dashed line that angles towards the back of the building. So the paving widens out as it approaches the back of the building. We're just going to cut it straight. So we're actually not changing the width of the drive as it exits towards Milwaukee Avenue. We're shaving a little bit off as the drive approaches the back of the building to just make room for the ramp and the landscaping.
And then you're just going to add a pad at the end of the ramp?
Correct, yeah.
And then underneath the stairway?
Correct, it'll be a concrete pad at the bottom of the ramp.
Okay, what's your plans with putting the door over that bulkhead to the basement?
The bulkhead's going to be completely taken out, and that will be sealed up.
And the other portion of that is we have the meter panel and the weatherhead that's right on that elevation as well, right where the handicap ramp is.
Correct, and what I've done there is I've made the ramp wide enough so that from the width, so that the minimum distance, the minimum width of the ramp is beyond the face of the meter head.
So are we okay with having that meter panel on that, adjacent to that ramp?
I don't know that there's specifically anything in the code that prohibits it. There are meters.
I mean, there's all that other phone lines and everything else that's coming in that. I know it's low voltage, and I'm sure the meter panel is safe, but are we okay with that? I've never seen that before. That's all I'm curious about.
There are locations where the utilities are relatively close to sidewalks in areas of that nature. Again, that would be something that the village's electrical inspector would look at more than fire department would look at. But I understand your concern.
Is it legal to cover it Like, I know it's a gas meter, needs access to it, but could they cover it in some way?
Do a lot of things, but
I doubt that because ComEd would need to have their access to it.
Okay. Maybe with like an opening door or something, anyway.
the wood awnings, where you're gonna put the new awnings, you're gonna leave all that, all those old wood shingles on top of that and just cover that all up?
Correct.
Then we won't be able to see any of that then. So the awnings are gonna be waterproof?
It'll be a fabric, yeah, an outdoor fabric awning on an aluminum frame.
Trash enclosure. There's a trash enclosure on the west elevation. It looks like that door is going to be removed and that old wooden trash container is going to be gone. So
Oh, that's,
do we have a spot for a new one?
that's not even, that's, yeah, that's going to be removed. That's going to be removed and all
That door is going to be removed, correct?
That's just storage for tables or whatever's there. Like,
And what's in that low sloped
that's,
room?
we're breaking that, actually. That's like they had a grill in there and some, just a grill.
So it's just a storage shed?
Yeah, but that's not going to be there.
Not the little one, the larger room,
Oh, the larger room to the left? sticking
all the way
out?
to the left?
Yeah.
Yes, that's your dry storage.
Dry storage.
Dry storage? So it's just a slab on grade kind of a situation?
Yes.
I thought you were talking about the little.
No, the bigger one.
Okay, in my packet, it says that the siding on the second floor elevations and that small section in the back is going to be scraped and repainted. I noticed that there was a number of panels of siding that were cracked and broken. These older styles of panels on these houses have been known to contain asbestos. So I would recommend that you would have it tested before you do any scraping or removal of those particular panels. Other than the landscaping and the tree with the top of it missing, that's about all I have.
It's a sorry tree.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Commissioner Creech's point, just investigate the awning a little bit more. You said you're going to wrap the existing shingles. It looks like in a pack. Are you going to actually put a metal frame on top of the shingles and then adhere the awning to that, the fabric to that? So it's not going to be laying directly on the shingles. It'll be wrapped around some type of frame and then that's put on the
Correct.
shingles?
It'll be an aluminum, I'm sure the whole thing will be shop built. It'll be aluminum frame wrapped in the awning, and then that entire structure will be adhered to the existing, basically floating off the existing shingles by an inch or two.
Okay.
So it's not gonna bear directly on it, no.
All right. The stone stack panel that's plastic, I'm having a hard time grasping that. Have you looked at any other cementitious type of alternative to that at all? Where you would, anything other than plastic. It looks, it looks kind of appealing, but to me, I don't know, I'm having an issue. Have you looked at any other alternative?
There are other alternatives, and there are other variations of that plastic too. The sample that I happened to get was one from Menards. The color's not very good.
I think what he's saying
I'm just saying something
away from plastic
and something in some type of cementitious type character to it.
Brooke, have they seen our list of acceptable type?
I'm not sure.
This is the other, excuse me. This is probably what you're concerned, what you would prefer.
Yes.
Yeah, that's better, yeah.
This looks,
Yes.
when that's finished, though, it looks
I understand, but it's, I mean, is there an issue weight-wise to go with that? Okay. All right, well, let's continue.
No, continue with that.
Okay, so, yeah, is there an issue substituting that in place of what you have on your plan?
I guess we just have to
Costs
investigate
more.
the, you know, what we have, when the siding would get stripped off, what we have for a substrate underneath it. Just to
Okay.
make sure that a material like this would fit in that.
Just a general consensus would something like that he just showed be more acceptable than the vinyl faux stone?
Yep.
If you could just lift that up again, that piece, right. Something like that, yes, instead of that. Right.
And specifically, do you mean cementitious material you want? Is that what you mean by this?
Yeah, something that's.
Yep.
It's less about the look and more about the material.
Right.
Well, but it provides a look.
Sure.
It provides a look that it's not vinyl.
Right.
That's the key.
I'll be willing to do that. Change to this material.
Okay, the three big trees on the north side of the property, those are staying, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so regarding that, as it ties into the landscape plan, the landscape plan, I'm glad to see that you're gonna, invest the money to spruce it up. I think it's good. I see your plant list that you're gonna put in, but nowhere on the landscape, I didn't see that.
No, it doesn't tell you where.
Yeah, I'm looking for, okay, so the intent is to put all these plants in there, but on the landscape plan, it doesn't indicate where those actual plants are going and what location on there. So I kind of have an issue with that. I mean, you went through the time and effort to get the landscape plan, but typically, I'd like to see the actual, what plants are going where on the plan, on the site.
It should be part of it.
Yeah, right.
There wasn't submitted drawings for the,
No.
This is the submittal we received.
Well, it's locations. So for instance, this here, in the upper left-hand corner, you've got a little circle there that, what is that plant? That's what we're looking for, because we have this, historically, we have this in our files. As it goes forward, for compliance, we know that this area should have a couple of burning bushes, a couple of blue hydrangeas. And over here on this side, whatever that should be. For maintenance purposes going forward, that's what we're looking for.
So the landscape plant list that's over there, I should have gone farther and labeled which.
Yep, exactly.
I have a picture that shows the drawing of the actual.
But it doesn't have what they are.
Normally, there's like a legend, like an indicator to the side of the plant, and that indicator is put, on the plan somewhere, so we know that indicator associates to that plant, and that's where it's going.
I understood. I didn't realize it had.
That's fine. Last thing I have is piggybacking on what Commissioner Kayla said. I'm not a fan of the sign on the north facade either. It doesn't do anything for me per se. I'm sorry, but in fact, I mean, just the color difference, the black in there and the different colors against the background of what's there, it's like, to me, it just like really stands out, and I just don't think it's a good fit for there. And with that, I have nothing else.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorbin.
Thank you. I have a couple questions. If we can go to the after picture.
The proposed plans or the
Yeah.
pictures of the existing conditions?
This one.
The color pictures, I think.
The awnings. Okay.
Okay. In the picture on the right, now mine's bigger on my screen, of course, but I'm looking at this, and on the second floor, I'm seeing an air conditioner. Is that going to remain? Because the drawing doesn't show it. And so I'm just wondering, is the air conditioner going to still be there?
Yes, because there's no central air.
Fine, that's what I want to know. Okay, and then all of the flower boxes are going?
Yes.
Okay. And then my last question is, where the lantern is on the picture, are you going to put another lantern there?
We are trying to rebuild that existing lantern. My friend Joe has the actual glass things that were cracked, so I'm trying to save that because I want to get it to work.
Okay. And the doors are going to match the rest
Brown.
of the, okay. And I think my last question, my last comment actually. And then to the right of the windows on the right, is that an air conditioner? Is that air conditioner?
Yes.
Okay. And I really appreciate the fact that you're trying to keep the integrity of what it was and, keep that old-fashioned look. So I appreciate all the attention to detail because I think it is something that, people do identify with Wheeling. And I wish you really well because I'm sure it's a lot of work and a lot of money. Thank you. That's all I have.
Just going back to this picture right here, and you're going to put this vinyl, this cloth awning over the shake. Does that really make sense? Aren't you afraid that that stuff is going to rot and eventually fall down from underneath there? It just seems that it's in such bad shape that I'm quite surprised, and granted, I'm quite surprised that isn't being torn off and you've got a frame there to build on it, because I would assume that somebody probably in 5 minutes could take down all of that shake. So I'm just trying to understand the purpose of leaving those shake shingles there.
I think the purpose of leaving the awning structure is because there are existing can downlights underneath that entire awning that we want to keep.
I understand that, but I'm just talking about, just the shingles. Why are those, won't that eventually turn into a maintenance nightmare? I mean, if you think it's not going to, then okay, I'm cool with that. It just seems odd that you would not take those shingles off.
Well, I think part of it is if they're covered, we just make sure that everything that's on there is secure and not falling off.
Okay.
Because then once it's covered, they're not going to weather anymore because they'll be basically out of the elements.
Yeah. So and thank you for that. We talked about a trash. You're going to have a dumpster somewhere, but was that specified? Was the location specified on any of the plans as to where that would be?
Back left, right?
Back left corner.
So
We only have a partial site plan.
Yeah, so we don't have that.
So it's basically
in the back.
It's basically to the right of
So
where this
normally
photo was
what we
taken.
require is some type of structure to enclose the dumpster. And we don't see that on any type of plan that we'd like to see that. So I can visualize where it's going to be,
On the grass.
but we need some type of structure around it, enclosure. Okay, so
Bottom, looking from my end, it's just bottom corner. Yes.
Yeah.
towards the north.
Yes.
Okay, so,
That's where it was before, it just wasn't enclosed.
okay, yeah. It has to be enclosed, and we have some guidelines as to what needs to be done with that. I agree. So the drive on the south side, where you're going to have the ramp, okay, is that going to be specifically designated as an exit?
ADA.
No, the drive itself.
The drive.
I think that would make sense. It'd be, the entrance would be on the north, the exit would be on the south.
So you probably want to consider some type of signage on the ground, you know?
Yeah,
or-
there's the
And
arrow.
signage says do not enter on the south side, and then,
Entrance only on this side.
right,
Only
entrance
on
and
that.
exit on that side. You probably want to consider that also. I was thinking about that as we do it. So why did you put the ramp on that side versus the north side?
The elevations of the inside of the.
Ah, okay, got it, yep, okay.
Steps.
Yeah, I do recall that side, okay, all right. And I'm in agreement that vinyl sign just doesn't do much for, and I'll take a poll to see if anybody likes that, but even, and Brooke, what is the requirement for that? What can it or can't it be?
Right, so there's a limitation because this is a single tenant building. There's one business in this building, and besides the primary sign, which is designated as the awning sign based on its size, the second or additional sign may only be of graphics, so they're not allowed to include text in the sign.
So,
Also, there's a limitation on the size. And so this proposed sign does meet the sign code.
I'll work on something. Can I work with something with Brooke where you guys can?
well, it sounds like, so, sir, there's a number of things that we need to see that I'm going to recommend to the commission that is this table or continue?
Table.
That we would table this so we can get all of these things resolved. You know, for instance, we're looking at a different use, a different type of material for the sides where you want that. We need a plan, and when I say the landscape plan, what you have, as long as you had a legend, is what we're looking for, okay? And the location of the dumpster and what the structure of that dumpster is going to be. And any type of, well, no, we don't have to worry about traffic signage, right? That's not part of the sign package, correct? Is that considered?
Well, it's part of the site plan.
Site plan. So, for instance, on your site plan, if you had, you know, entrance only here, exit only here, you're going to put signage there. What that is will, you know, depend upon that. And what's the other thing?
The address too.
The address, adding the address to where it's going to be. Can anybody else think of, and improving this sign? You know, maybe a symbol or something or other, you know?
That bird, that people,
Right.
the thing was so people can associate what it is.
Right, exactly.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a few items. The gas meters on the front elevation of the building, I'd like to see something to protect that.
Or cover.
You have timbers on the one side, on the north side for your landscaping, those are going to stay, correct? Part of our landscaping, we normally require sprinklers, a bike rack,
So can we?
The trash enclosure thing, and then my last one would be gutters and downspouts. Because they're on here and then they're not on here, so are we gonna have gutters and downspouts? Of course. Okay.
Sprinkled, we normally require that, but we can discuss that for this area that we're talking about here. But the gutters, the downspouts, great idea. And then, are you going to have any kind of outdoor seating? No.
No,
Okay.
it's not on the plan. I mean, if it's something that we can do, we have that section in the back, that square area, next to the shed.
Okay, and if you heard it the last time, that would require minor site plan approval if you're going to so desire that, just again, coming back before us. But sprinkling this area could be a challenge. So I'm going to ask the board, Plan Commission, do we need to require sprinkling on this? Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Commissioner Blanova?
No, there is no grass.
Commissioner Powers?
In this case, I'm going to say no.
Commissioner Dorban?
We are speaking of irrigation sprinkling.
Right, irrigation.
No.
No. Commissioner Kalis?
No.
And Commissioner Creech?
No?
No?
No.
Okay, good. So don't need an irrigation. But we have a number of things that, like gutters and downspouts where those are at. And,
One more question.
Yeah.
The new door with the ramp, the ADA ramp, you're removing an air conditioning unit. Is that being replaced in any, like, interior or anything? Because if you have no central air, I don't know how many air conditioners there are, but are you replacing that one that's being removed from the south elevation? That one. That's probably, nope, go right back. That one. So that's being removed in lieu of the door you're putting in there. But is that, I don't know the interior, is that going to drastically affect the, okay. You have no plans to replace an air conditioning unit at that spot?
If needs enough air circulation in there, we can make room.
Okay, I'm sure you'll adjust.
Because the room is higher, all the low drop ceiling
Okay.
is gone.
I've unfortunately never been there, so I don't know how it is inside, but I'm sure you'll moderate the temperature accordingly. But I was just curious about that since.
You have also another question.
Yeah.
Because part of our paperwork says Old Munich Inn, but you have it Old Munich Tavern?
Yes.
Okay,
Good
so,
question. Old
what-
Munich Tavern.
pardon me?
Old Munich Tavern.
Okay, so what was the rationale in changing the name?
It already looks like a house and the inn, so I just figured tavern would allow people to know, hey, this is a drinking
It's not a bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
Got it. I just was curious.
When Commissioner Dorban was talking about the planting boxes, are they all being removed, just for clarification?
No.
The planting boxes that are on the walls?
I don't think so. There's one at least that they're
That's going
preserving.
to be stone.
Yeah, the one
The
over
one in the
stone.
front is being preserved.
I think Brooke, we had talked before about leaving the one on the very right, but now.
But then with the stone,
Now with the
it's going to
stone.
look weird. Plus, there's a lot of flower. I actually have a drawing of the actual, the color of the flowers, not just bushes, because that picture that's up there with the proposed, that's just the signage, my signage friends that did so you can see how the signage would look. He just put bushes there. That's not the landscape. It's going to be a lot of bushes, a lot of flowers, like 90 different. I have it. I wish I could just email it directly to you guys so you could see it.
Well, I think what we're saying is those, now we should say all.
No, they're gone because we have so many,
yeah.
we have a lot of color there. We actually
Right,
have
all
a
three,
lot of.
I think all three of them, I had left one of them on the elevation, but I think now all three of them should go.
So the one that's on, where it says new east elevation, where it says that particular planter will actually be gone.
Yeah, I believe, yes, we'll take that one out.
Okay.
It'll look tacky with it, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Brooke, you've written a number of things, and for them to fix up.
Okay. First, I'd like to address the engineering memo that was provided today. There are 3 conditions noted in this memo. I'm suggesting that we add the first one to the site plan and appearance as a condition of approval. Number 2 and 3, staff believes.
Have the petitioners seen?
Yes.
Okay.
The second and third points on this engineering memo, staff believes can be addressed at permit or at occupancy. But the first one, I will read, this should be included in as a condition of approval for the site plan and appearance. The east half of the existing parking lot is in disrepair. The east half of the parking lot shall be resurfaced, and the entire lot shall be restriped. And now, from what
Wait.
I've...
What's the east parking lot?
The east, I guess it would, maybe my directions are east, because the back half of the parking lot, the west half, I guess, basically that was repaved, I think, probably about 2 or 3 years ago. The east half, I guess, north half, it really depends how you look at it.
This is what we're looking at right here.
Yeah, right there, that section there.
Has
yeah,
to
that-
be
Yes.
resurfaced.
Yeah, that's in a state of disrepair, but yeah, the west,
So-
south, either way, that section there was repaved, and that particular section of the parking lot does not look to be in too bad of condition, that once they seal coat everything and restripe everything, that side should look fine.
But the north side's going to be
Resurfaced.
just resurfaced? Because it needs work,
Was it a patch, a lot of patch?
not just patched.
No,
An overlay.
And I got a second opinion on this from our staff. I really think that needs to take a full 1.5 or 1 3/4 inch grind and overlay. There's really not a whole
Okay.
lot, you really can't do a whole lot of patching in here, and there's so much cracking, so much alligator cracking, that I just don't think crack sealing and seal coating is going to fix this.
Correct. Thank you.
I would agree.
So then, what's on this memo is the east half, but really
I guess
it's the
like
north
north.
side,
I
right?
guess
Just
it's
to be
the north,
clear.
yeah.
Just to make sure that's distinguished. And it's not only just resurfacing, it's shaving. Do we need to distinguish that? Or is that included?
Resurfacing, the term resurface, at least in engineering, and I guess for us, resurfacing is usually associated with grinding and
Okay.
overlaying, but if you needed to be more specific, we could.
What about runoff?
Drainage?
Drainage
There's currently no drainage there. I think it all sheet drains out to
to
Milwaukee
Milwaukee?
Avenue, as long as when they repave it and
So grading, they're going to do a little grading too with it as well?
It would, yeah.
It needs it.
When they repave it, yeah, whoever paves it should direct obviously direct it towards Milwaukee Avenue like it currently is.
Okay.
So should it state the north half, or?
Sure,
Yes.
if you want to, yeah, if you want
So
to.
you're not worried about the southeast portion of the property?
Yeah, the south and the east, or west, well, I guess it's.
I don't own this.
Yes, north, I guess you can call this the north section of the parking lot.
Okay.
I kind of said east because, it goes west and then also to the south a little bit, I guess. So, but, either way, it shouldn't be too hard to distinguish which part needs resurfacing.
Okay, so the north section of the parking lot shall be resurfaced and the entire lot shall be restriped? Yes. Okay. So the other conditions or conditions that I heard tonight are: the faux stone siding shall be made of cementitious material. A trash enclosure is required for the dumpsters. The site plan shall note the location, and details regarding the materials and design of the enclosure shall be provided. Directional signs and/or pavement markings shall be installed for parking lot access. The landscape plan shall be more detailed, and the wall-mounted utilities on the south facade shall be enclosed.
And what about the vinyl sign?
The sign?
The vinyl sign, yeah.
Okay, and so for the signage, the docket number, SCBA 18-36.
Right.
It is recommended that the building address be added to the front awning, and 2, considered a new design or color scheme for the wall sign.
I have a question.
Like, Greg?
You mentioned about the utilities on the south side. Are you talking about the electric meter?
Yes.
Well,
What's
whatever's
here?
necessary to pass code.
Yeah, all that stuff's, the ComEd,
Right,
there's
there's-
Comcast, there's AT&T, it's all gonna go.
There's wiring there that doesn't have anything to do with the electric. That will be removed. What will basically be left is the meter head and the meter panel. It's the metal box. There will be no other wiring there. So the box itself
Well,
is.
as long as it's acceptable to code, you have the width on your ramp,
Okay,
and the electrical inspector's okay with it, then there should be no problems.
Okay, because Brooke had mentioned, I thought you said an enclosure, so I thought you were talking about building another enclosure around that.
That's what I heard.
They reviewed it.
No.
So, I'm sorry,
No,
so
then it-
does the condition stand, or should I strike it?
No enclosure, because they wouldn't allow to.
I would strike it.
Enclose
Okay.
that, so I would strike that.
Okay.
I'm sure that it review, they'll tell them what they need to do
Okay.
for that.
Anything else?
I don't think so. So we're going to table both items.
Brooke, what prevents them from having their name on the side of the building?
It's
On the north side?
It's the code, the sign code.
We have other places that we have names on two sides. It's just, I don't,
It's the size, it's the square footage of the new sign prevents them from having an additional wording.
There's no wording allowed, I guess, I believe, no lettering.
Right.
just because the front.
It says for
the
a
Munich-
secondary
old Munich-
sign, when it's located on a building that only includes a single business, that the secondary sign shall only include graphics.
Can we make an exception where I just put the name of the business again, they could see it? And just Old Munich Tavern.
And that's just based on how big it is on the front of the building?
The size is another requirement, but specifically the sign code states that it shall be a graphic type sign.
I assume most standalone businesses, it's not as important to have signs, because coming on Milwaukee, it'd be nice to have one on each side, but.
Well, and I'm
I mean,
thinking
I
of
guess-
other places around town that we've got names on two sides.
I agree.
Maybe the sign code changed.
Yeah.
By pre-existed the sign code.
I would prefer that.
Or their
We just
rule
put
breakers.
another
But
Old
this
Munich
is-
Tavern again.
Actually, Starbucks had
Yeah, how
an
many-
issue this, earlier. I made them change their signs because they were only allowed to have the Starbucks name on one wall. And so they have logos on all the other signs.
Yeah, okay.
Well, it's our code.
It's our code.
But I'm thinking of the place at Lake Cook, and, the Zupas.
But it's a single building. It's a
Yeah.
single building with a single,
Zupas is too, isn't their name on two sides?
but there's more than one business there. Oh, no,
Not in
Zupas
their
is,
building.
you're right. I was thinking the other one. Can we review the code to make sure, well, you've reviewed the code, so.
I can't speak to what's been approved in the past, but I know what the code says today.
And if there's something we can do for them so they can get their name on at least the north side.
I'd be happy to remove the graphics.
Yeah.
For an Old Munich Tavern.
We would also be happy about that.
That was idea, like,
Do you recall what section it is, commercial? Which one?
I mean, the sign code must have been changed because the Old Munich Inn, as we see it, has signs on every side. So
Yeah.
The
It was
the
definitely-
code changed at some point recently, maybe,
It was definitely changed. in the last
and/or
year.
other people are just in violation of code violation.
It's not on the front elevation.
It changed.
can there be an exception because of a
You'd have to
grandfather's?
get a
We're
variation.
going to have to look at whether or not there can be, we can
Exception.
vary from the code.
Variance?
Legal nonconforming, does that apply to your sign? It may not. I don't think it does, so we'll take a look. It's going to be tabled anyway, so I think there's time to look at the sign issue.
Great.
Doesn't have to be resolved
And it's
tonight.
saying remove those two existing and the light box, which was another sign, but then come down to the one front sign and then the one other sign that we'd like to put.
It says right here, Section 21.06.050A, wall signs, number 3, G, and under that, number 3, in the event that signs shall be located on two or more building walls of a single user building, the business may be allowed graphic-only signs on the additional walls, provided that the graphics do not exceed, here it is, the graphics do not exceed 40% of the size of the primary wall sign. So it says graphic only. So that's what it reads.
Well, it seems like we've got other exceptions.
If
May have
we
to
can
drive
point them
around-
out,
May have to drive around town a little bit, but.
right, if we can point them
If
out.
I made a logo with Old Munich Tavern as like a logo.
Well,
That would-
that's
That would
another
be
point.
accepted. If that's a graphic and it's got,
That's the only legal,
is that a graphic? But if it had
Any-
Old Munich.
a
That
logo.
could work if that's a logo. It's got to be incorporated with
Create a logo.
graphic.
I'll present my logo.
So we have a motion to table PC 1814 and SCBA 18, let's do one at a time. PC 18-14, do I hear a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Powers, second by Commissioner Dorban. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Chairman Rafato?
Yes. Motion to table SCBA 18-36.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Powers, second by Commissioner Dorban. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Powers votes yes. Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Blanova?
Yes.
Commissioner Creech?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kalis?
Yes.
Chairman Rafato?
Yes. Work with Brooke.
Great.
Tell you the next time that we will be available. Do we need to have them? Yeah, so we've got a couple of things to give you.
T-shirts?
They don't need.
You don't need to sign them. Do we need to sign them? Yeah, we probably should sign them.
There's no meeting before September 13th.
13, so the sign code.
Well, and this doesn't need to go, this doesn't go before the village board, right?
No.
No,
It's
so
minor.
it's just us. One of those is yours. And here.
Oops.
They need to.
The board sees recommendation for.
The grant.
Oh, that's right. Okay, got it. Oh, because you guys are going for a, which is great. 1836. This explains everything. Thank you very much, sir. No, that's quite all right. No, you'll be a welcome addition, welcome back into that area. Thank you. Great. Approval of minutes, August 9, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Other business, Brooke?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Johnson?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Blanova?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Commissioner Powers?
Nothing.
Commissioner Creech?
Nothing tonight, thank you, sir.
Commissioner Kalis?
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Commissioner Dorband?
Nothing, thank you.
And I have nothing either. Mr. Ferrillo, anything, sir?
Nothing, thank you for having me tonight. I
Thanks for
enjoyed
coming.
my time with you.
Thank you.
Mallory will be back.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ron.